Hi, and welcome to the MVU virtual event on what's new in OpenSSL 1.1.1. This one's really just a continuation of kind of where we left off with why SSL is essential to your business and why it's so important to stay up to date with the U2 database releases and the new security features with each new release. And again, I'm your speaker, Mike Belmy. For resources with this one, OpenSSL.org, they're a great resource. And then I have a couple knowledge base articles from our support portal linked here that I'll cover later on throughout the slides here. They cover which versions of OpenSSL support what and with which version of Unidata or Universe. So for those of you who don't know, OpenSSL is deeply entrenched in U2 security. It's really the underlying technology for the majority of the U2 database security functions. Like I have there, it includes ADE, automatic data encryption. It's also the basis for SSL, obviously, so incoming and outgoing secure connections to and from the database. It's the underlying technology for key and certificate creation and use also. In addition to that, it's also the engine for the basic extensions for secure sockets and secure call HTTP, HTTPS. And it's also the underlying technology for securing Telnet, UniObjects for Java, UniJDBC, UO.NET, U2 ODBC, and a lot more. Before we go further, there's a couple knowledge base solution articles I wanted to show you here. These are found in the Rocket customer portal, or the first one is for Universe, that second link is for Unidata. And I've got those links now open in a web browser here. I'm going to zoom in. The first one here is OpenSSL version and support with Universe. The other one I have, same thing with Unidata. These are great articles to check out because really if you have any questions on which version of a U2 database comes with which version of OpenSSL, what protocols are supported, even certificate signature hash algorithms, and some notes here. This should answer all your questions. I'll just go through one real quick here, like Universe 11.3.2. We see we went from 11.3.1 down here. These are specific build numbers where the version changed. But we went from 102H with the FIPS module to OpenSSL 1.1.1b, and that's the date the that OpenSSL was built. We can see this field here. So it has TLS v1, 1.1, and 1.2 enabled in the database by default, with an extended option to enable TLS v1.3 if you want. So that's what these other fields are. This means what's enabled by default. And like these other versions, you can still enable SSL v3 back at older versions if needed, but they're not enabled by default. You can see new at OpenSSL 1.1.1, we now support the SHA-3 family, as well as what we did in the past, SHA-1, SHA-2, MD5. Notes field here, so like this one, no FIPS module included, and then a note that FIPS will be back at OpenSSL 3.0. Other notes on fixes for specific vulnerabilities and such. And I'll just cover Unidata here so you can have a quick look. Just note up until 7.3.7 we use that 0.9.7e version pretty heavily in just about everything. And future development there would be Unidata 8.2.2. We're planning for the OpenSSL 1.1.1 inclusion. So as you picked up from the knowledge base articles I visited there, really Universe up through the 11.1 releases, we relied heavily on OpenSSL 097E, which today would really limit you with support for only up to TLS v1 was the maximum protocol there, and it only supported up through SHA-1 certificates. 11.2 we began using OpenSSL 101 as the family. So that one introduced support for SHA-2 certificates and TLS 1.1 and 1.2 protocols. At 11.2 we also began support of a FIPS 140-2 module. That's, for those who don't know, Federal Information Processing Standards. And let's see, 11.3.2, we again made major changes, moving to the very latest, as of now, OpenSSL 111 family. I'll be covering more in a minute on what 111 brings with it. As for Unidata, same thing. So Unidata 736 used the 097E version of OpenSSL. So again, that's quite limiting in today's world. Probably not a whole lot you can do with that anymore. Unidata 8.1 release, that one introduced OpenSSL 101. So again, you get SHA-2, TLS 1.1 and 1.2, and a FIPS module. And then our Unidata 8.2.2 release is planned to move to the OpenSSL 111 family. This is really a fast-moving industry, a constantly evolving threat landscape. So, for instance, here Microsoft ended support for SHA-1 SSL certificates effective January 1, 2016. The problem with that is really that any OpenSSL version prior to 098 did not support or understand anything but SHA-1 certificates. So what this did was just force a lot of upgrades for anyone using SSL, because as other sites and services updated to SHA-2 certificates, any software running OpenSSL 097, as you saw in the knowledge base articles, used in really a lot of our products leading up to recent years. Any software running 097E or earlier just flat out couldn't communicate with the site that had any SHA-2 certificate anywhere in its chain at all. Also, starting about that same time, there were some high-profile vulnerabilities discovered. OpenSSL, it prompted some rapid patches by OpenSSL. A few there, just to mention some of them: Heartbleed, Freak, Drown, Sweet 32. The list goes on there. What this did is lead to changes in U2 to just allow more flexibility with OpenSSL in the products. During this time, we built and released new patch versions of OpenSSL that could fairly easily be plugged into the database without a full upgrade. Basically just swapping in some new binaries for what was there already. Did have to be the same major version of OpenSSL, but yeah, as they released patches, we could pretty easily build a new version of that minor release and allow our customers to just drop it in as an upgrade. And like I mentioned previously, Universe and Unidata do now support a FIPS module, so that meets FIPS 140-2. Really just a set of standards put out by the US government for cryptographic modules. Tells you which algorithms and such you're allowed to use for data security within the database, or whatever application the FIPS module applies to. We started including that at Universe 11.3.1 and Unidata 8.2.0. And that actually was built by OpenSSL and included with OpenSSL. So yeah, it's now an option in the database from those versions going forward. You can turn it on, I believe, in the UV config and UDT config, or you can use it on a per session basis. So finally, this brings us to introducing OpenSSL 1.1.1. This was first introduced into the U2 databases at the Universe 11.3.2 release, and it'll be coming shortly in the Unidata 8.2.2 release. Really, the main new feature is the release of the TLS 1.3 protocol. It's intended to provide better security and improve SSL handshake performance. The security enhancements are really mainly due to the deprecated features in there being removed entirely to prevent misconfiguration on an SSL server that could leave it open to past exploits. The performance enhancements are due to a couple new options in there. There's new 0 round trip time and TLS false start extension. So in the past, TLS 1.2 had required 2 round trips to complete an SSL handshake. Now the 1.3 version only needs 1 round trip. And I believe TLS false start is actually an optional extension that it basically allows the client and server to begin communicating encrypted application data when the SSL handshake is only partially complete. Also, we've got the introduction of the SHA-3 hash algorithm family. That SHA-3 family includes all the algorithms you see listed there. Basically just a new internal algorithm design from SHA-2. And continuing on that point, TLS 1.3 is really not widely used yet. It'll probably be the standard moving forward, given more time. For instance, right now, like PCI compliance still just requires a TLS 1.1 or higher. So it's not requiring 1.3 yet, but that could be possible in the near future. SHA-3, again, not widely used yet. Probably be longer before this one's really adopted for certificate use. There's just not a reason really to upgrade from SHA-2 to SHA-3 at this point. Also, just as the move from SHA-1 to SHA-2 made older servers incapable of verifying a SHA-2 certificate. The same will probably apply here when moving to SHA-3. For older servers not yet updated probably won't be able to understand SHA-3, so like that did in the past, it'll probably completely disrupt secure communications. So until there's really an industry-wide push for SHA-3, probably best to stay with SHA-2 for now. Another big change with OpenSSL 1.1.1 is that OpenSSL.org really made the decision to skip building a FIPS module for the OpenSSL 1.1.1 version. Therefore, Universe 11.3.2 has no FIPS module. This is kind of leading to a tough decision for some sites, whether to upgrade for TLS 1.3 or SHA-3, or do you stick with what has a FIPS module? The decision there to upgrade should really be based on security needs and compliance. So if you need to meet PCI compliance, then that can still be done with Universe 11.3.2, 12.1.1, and 11.3.1. Specifically, if you need to meet FIPS 140-2 compliance, then you'll probably want to stick with Universe 11.3.1 or 12.1.1 for the time being, since they still have a FIPS module built in. OpenSSL long-term support for version 102, which did have the FIPS module, and that's in 11.3.1 Universe. The long-term support has ended for that, at least by OpenSSL. Rocket can still go ahead and make changes in our build process if we need to patch something, but so far that hasn't been necessary at all. OpenSSL 3.0 is going to be the next major release from OpenSSL. It's again going to be a complete redesign of OpenSSL with a new core, and that one's currently set to include a FIPS module again. And a nice feature here with OpenSSL 1.1.1 is that any U2 database using that version will be able to upgrade to a minor OpenSSL version release. For example here, you could go from potentially an OpenSSL 1.1.1a release to, say, a 1.1.1b or C or D. Anything in the 1.1.1 family, really just a new minor letter release. It does still require the same major version, so no going from say 1.1.1a to a 1.2 something release from OpenSSL, but it does make it easy to upgrade without upgrading the entire database. And the best part of that is that customers will not be required to wait on Rocket to build the patched version of OpenSSL. So customers can use or build their own OpenSSL patched version for use with the U2 database with no server code changes necessary at all. The current Universe 11.3.2 security features manual does provide some recommended steps. Not something we can officially say since there's just so many ways to build OpenSSL on different platforms and different software and methods to do it. So these are just recommended steps for customers that wish to build their own OpenSSL to use in a U2 database. So as patches and security fixes for OpenSSL 1.1.1 get released, customers do really have more flexibility there to choose to upgrade OpenSSL right away if needed. And really it's just as easy as stopping Universe or Unidata and swapping in the new OpenSSL binaries for the old ones. As for the future plans with OpenSSL, Rocket's going to continue to monitor statements from OpenSSL.org on the coming 3.0 release. Last I checked, it's currently in the alpha release stage, and according to OpenSSL.org, the final release of 3.0 is expected sometime in Q4 of 2020. Though that was announced in a post, I believe, back in November of 2019, so that may change, and I know their plans have changed because they were expecting to already have 3.0 released by this point. So just as with OpenSSL 1.1.1, Rocket's going to continue to upgrade OpenSSL to the latest release. And I believe our engineers are already starting to look at 3.0 alpha. So just keep an eye out for the quarterly webinar with the MV roadmap presentations. That should keep you up to date on that. You can always reach out to the U2 Ask Us at rocketsoftware.com if you have any questions.